Hey there, book besties and cozy cousins. Welcome to Beauty in the Book, where we gab about books while creating fabulous looks. And if this sounds like the type of content that you like, please consider subscribing. Today's book is going to be The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and this is the look we are going to be achieving. I wanted it to be glowy, very fall, very bronze, but giving the same kind of vibes that Mika Moon does. The whole reason for the glow, we will chit chat as we move on into this look, so stay tuned. So The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches stars Mika Moon, our main character. She's 31, living in the UK, and it opens on a gaggle of witches meeting together in an inconspicuous enough dock. It turns out that most witches cannot be forthcoming about their magic nor be in close proximity to a lot of other witches because the combination of magical potential leads to magical mishaps, which is why most witches grow up without their birth parents, because the extra concentration of magic sometimes can result in a very tragic end. One thing that you notice about Mika straight off is that magic is a part of her heart, and it's why she doesn't really get close to anybody around her. She doesn't stay at any home longer than a year, and that's by her own design. She feels like because nobody can fully get to know about her magic, she doesn't really allow other people to get to know her or get very close until starting her YouTube journey, ta-da, and sharing some of her witchy tips in a new age where everybody can be a witch or a psychic. She passes off her real magic as special effects until she catches the eye of a very interesting group of characters in the Nowhere House. At the Nowhere House, they are not only irregular because it is a house full of humans raising 3 young witches, but 3 young witches are being raised together. A phenomenon that Mika never got to experience. Most of her childhood was very lonely and crowded with different tutors and nannies that got their memories wiped as soon as they got any idea of her magic, which led her to have some identity issues, feeling like she could never be good enough for other people unless they were taking advantage of her magic, or meeting a watered down version of her that didn't show the part of her that she loved the most. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the tropes and themes that I noticed throughout this. Now, these tropes are based on my own analysis, so some of them might be a little out there, but ride with me. One thing I really love about this tale is that it is so cozy and witchy and everything. Something else that I found is that it is full with this found family sweetness that makes the value of family that much sweeter, especially when it's the family you choose or that you fell upon, similar to what Mika Moon's story is. Though there is a very sweet romance that blossoms throughout this tale, what really is the most gripping is the relationship that Mika has with herself and the way that she allows herself to receive love as we continue on in the book. Now, speaking of romance, let's talk a little bit about some of the tropes that go along with this romantic story. Now, it's definitely enemies to lovers, but it almost takes a turn from enemies to friends to lovers in that there is a sweet endearment that slowly blossoms between these characters. Now, it's definitely not a super spicy book, but if I had a scale of 1 to 5 how spicy it is, it would definitely be a 2. There are about 2 scenes in here later on in the book that are pretty tantalizing, but I will say that it is an excellent book to read if you just were looking for something sweet and reaffirming and you're going through your own personal journey of growth and redirection. Something that I found kindred with the main character, Mika Moon, is this idea of stepping into unfamiliar territory brazenly and fearlessly. And what I love so much about it is that she didn't have any experience having deep bonded connections with people that didn't want anything from her. Truly, an unconditional love blossomed between most of the characters within this book. So what I felt was the most heartwarming for me in reading this tale was how fearless Mika was when she was stepping out and showing more of herself and being vulnerable. Something that I think we often can do, and I know I've done in my own personal journey, is when we come to a point where we either have to be vulnerable or walk away. I can be like Mika. I can pack up all of my things and disappear in a day or in a night instead of doing the necessary lifting of vulnerability needed to level up relationships of all types. And I think what I love the most about this is how it shows the importance and value of giving your full self, even if you don't know if your doubt or your heart is right, even if you don't know if you're making the right decision. Instead of trying to constantly edit yourself or anticipate any heartbreak or nonsense that would happen, Mika goes full in. She's so honest. She's literally so patient and so understanding, and her empathy is really her ultimate power. The way that she can put herself in other people's shoes, the way that she's written, even though her childhood, she was treated like from arm's distance her entire childhood, she still makes an effort in every relationship that she has in this chapter of her life to be her most authentic self, because she gets an opportunity to be herself, to be a witch, and teach other young witches how to hone their power, while also getting to have the one thing that she's always wanted, which is family. She just wanted family. Now, if you're still not sure, let me liken some of my favorite cozy witchy movies to this book. Now, if you are a big fan of the 90s hit Practical Magic, you have to read this book. Not only does it give us the beauty of like ancestral family magic, the ties that happen between people that love one another and also have access to magic, there is something deeply beautiful about a house full of people that love one another, and a issue has arisen and they have to solve it in order for that love and those people to be safe. There's something beautiful about seeing the lengths that people will go and that they'll travel in order to keep those that they love safe. And I think that happens so many times in this book. The other thing that I love about this is that it shows the different ways that people may do that for us, and it might backfire. It might not manifest in a way that's actually helpful, but in a way that's harmful. And we see that in Mika's relationship with the lady who runs the Society of Witches that she belongs to before she goes to the Nowhere House, and has to kind of fall into this anonymity because she doesn't want anybody to know that these young witches are growing up with one another, because she's afraid that they might be separated. What we find is that she's raised by this woman named Primrose, but at a distance. Primrose only really seeing her in those in-between times when nannies or tutors were recently had discovered Mika's powers. But what we get to learn is the reason for that, and that it wasn't out of malice, but rather out of an inverted protection that backfired. And I even think that's beautiful, because when you get that level of hindsight to be able to look back, similar to Practical Magic, we see that the people that we love will do anything to help us, even if it comes at both of our detriment, because of their brand of protection. Another similar tale is that of Miss Peregrine's Home for Extraordinary Children, specifically with the relationship that Mika develops with the 3 young witches that she comes to tutor. There is this kind of maternal nature about Mika that I don't even think she acknowledged or knew the depth of until she was in this situation she never was in before. And I mean, seriously sit and think about the last time you were in a situation that you were completely unfamiliar with. You had no way of being able to know or understand the real ramifications of the actions that you're making. But what I love about Mika Moon's character is not only her fearlessness to show up as her authentic self, but the ability for her to become the adult that she needed when she was a child. Like, I think that's the most beautiful thing about Mika, is that she realizes that she's much more equipped than she thinks, simply because she's in tune with what she needed at the girl's ages, how she wanted to be talked to or approached, or the patience she wanted to be extended to her in her very solitary journey to magic, and most witches' solitary journey to magic. A lot of witches that she knew prior to coming into this kind of mixed match sorted house was that either they pretended they didn't have magic or hid it away from their loved ones in order to live an ordinary life. But that was something Mika couldn't do. She couldn't hide the part of herself that she felt she loved the most. She couldn't. Magic was too ingrained in her, and she was also too afraid to. Before the Nowhere House, she didn't have the confidence to be able to see that there are people out there that would love her for her, but they're the just unique circumstances around it. It's just like every single moment, every single new experience that she has, it's almost like she's looking at it with new eyes. And I can say that I truly identify with Mika Moon, especially the fact that she's 31 and almost reintroducing her most authentic self to the world. What I loved about this is that I had a very similar experience entering into my 30s. I wanted the world to be able to see me and see me fully, but I had to see myself fully. So almost a combination of how she lived beforehand, where she was moving from place to place and didn't stay for longer than a year. I felt like that for maybe the 2 or 3 years leading up to 30, where I felt transient and that I didn't really want people super close to me or to have any real depth of opinion of me because I wasn't ready to be perceived. But there is a beauty about being embraced by a community that knows you exactly as you are and accepts you for exactly as you are, and how that allows you to blossom past anything that you ever imagined. And if that's something you're looking for, you definitely need to pick up this book. I'm going to round out this recommendation with my personal review. This book was 5 stars for me. I am not only looking forward to rereading it, but I'm looking forward to jumping back into this tale and diving into a world that I don't know that I have ever allowed myself to imagine. Something that I love the most about this is that even though Mika might not have experience with these deep connections, she throws herself into them fully. She allows herself to be fully present and doesn't let the fear of the past completely debilitate her. It might slow her. It might have to make others be patient, but she allows herself to be fully herself and fully lean into the experiences that she's having because she's unafraid to show who she is, because she is proud of who she is. And honestly, I think that's the best part about 30. I think that's why I love this book so much. It was cozy, and what I liked the most about it was that it did open door healing more than it did open door trauma. Even with some of the other characters, when we learn more about their backstories, there is a lot of heartbreak and trauma that happens, but we're allowed to learn about it by way of the character being comfortable enough to share it, the character being able to tell their story in their words. And I think that's something that sometimes is missing when we're capturing healing stories, is for people to be able to tell their story in their own words and maybe the trauma was by themselves, but the healing isn't. You need your community to heal. And that is why this book is a absolute 5-star for me. I highly, highly, highly recommend. If you enjoyed this recommendation, make sure to subscribe to the tribe and comment down below if you've read any similar cozy witchy tales that are perfect for the fall time. I hope you have enjoyed learning how to do this very fall look. And overall, I wanted it to be glowy and beautiful because it is said in this book that witches' magic is seen as like glitter or sparkles collecting around them, magic being this personified being that wants to be used and wants to be given attention. And I just feel like in order for you to get all of the feels, you have to read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Medina. And if you're interested in any of the makeup products I use, make sure to check out the description box down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.